All right, welcome back to TCC, and welcome to, God, it's been a minute kind of review type thing. Yeah, oh wow, yeah, what was the last one I did? Poison Ivy? That was a bit ago. I've definitely kind of slowed down in terms of like purchases, and I've actually been going back and buying a lot of like Mafex reissues and like older stuff that I missed out on, or things that I'm trying to buy back after I sold off a lot of my stuff. So new things are kind of being limited more towards imports and third-party figures. I'm kind of getting out of the Hasbro game, so that's why everything's been a little bit, kind of sparse when it comes to like an upload schedule, which I also work full-time, so it makes it a little bit difficult. But I mean, like I said, just like I've said a bunch of times in my other videos, don't expect like a video every week or something like that. Like, this is just for when something special comes along, or something I'm really interested comes along, and be like, I want to make a video on that. I actually do have something cooking up that I'm going to be doing after this, so stick around for that. That should be a lot of fun. But today, this is going to be a little bit more of an interesting kind of video here. This is one I've been looking forward to for a minute. Obviously, you see we have the Mafex 200 Mandalorian 2.0, which, yeah, I've been waiting on this guy for a mean minute. Like, I remember, I think he went up for pre-order, God, like towards the beginning of last year or something like that. Like, it was right around the time when I started getting into Mafex collecting like really hardcore. I seen pictures of this guy, specifically this head sculpt, the one back here on the side too. That was really like, oh, I can't wait for that. When's that coming out? I don't think it got delayed or whatever, but it's finally here. But what I wanted to do was, because for a very long time I did put this all back in the box. I've had this one as my definitive Mandalorian 1/12 scale figure on the shelf. I've had him for a couple of years now and haven't really seen the need to pick up any of the Hasbros or anything, but really been waiting for this guy to come along to hopefully knock him out of top spot. But what I want to do is, because these are so similar and they come with such a similar array of accessories and stuff, this is going to be a long video, so I'll put timestamps you can skip around. But I'm going to go through like pretty much everything in both of these, and I'm going to compare them. I'm going to see what works better, what doesn't work as well, what looks better, what doesn't, etc., etc. A typical comparison video. So like I said, it's going to be kind of a long one, so bear with me. But again, it's my channel. I will do what I want, and this is what I want to do. So let's, I guess we'll just start with the basic figures themselves. I'll get these guys both out of the plastic, and we'll have them standing here and we'll take a look. All right, so we got them both out of the box, standing side by side. We have the Figuarts on the right, Mafex on the left. And one thing I wasn't 100% expecting was that the Mafex is significantly taller than the Figuarts. Because I know, obviously, Figuarts tends to run a little bit smaller, and sometimes Mafex. I mean, Mafex scales are all over the freaking place. Like, I'll say that. But generally, figures tend to run a little bit larger, but sometimes they're also a lot smaller than, say, like a Hasbro Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classified. Or, I mean, like, I've got Mafexes that are perfectly in scale with Figuarts and vice versa. So I guess just in general, I know Figuarts tends to run smaller, so it's not super surprising, but it's still kind of like, wow, that's a pretty big difference. And then another thing just right off the bat that I didn't even really notice just owning the Figuarts one on its own is just how small the helmet is on the Figuarts compared to this one. Like, this looks like a guy in a costume wearing a helmet. Like, this looks like, I don't know, like somebody mushed his his skull into this thing or whatever. It sits so low. I know, like, when I have this on the shelf, I tend to pop the neck out, and then if you kind of push it in with the cape, like kind of using the cape, because it's not like secure in there, but if you just kind of rest it with using the cape to kind of hold it in place, it does tend to make it look a little bit more natural. But as it is, like, default straight from the factory, it's really pushed out in there, and he has no neck, so that definitely helped. But I mean, just right off the bat, I'm already digging the way that this one looks a lot more. I don't personally own it, and I don't plan on picking it up, but I know the new Hasbro one just came out. The one that comes with like the Darksaber and the little vibro blade and all that. It looks like this looks like the premium version of that, but like not in like a bad way or a derogatory way, because the Hasbro one looks pretty good, but it's like obviously this is like the more premium version of that figure because they look very, very close. Like this is just kind of, I don't know, like I haven't watched the show in a while, but I don't remember his lower clothes being so brown. But one thing that I did hear about this Figuarts one, like that whole set, was it was incredibly rushed. Like, I mean, because Figuarts get stuff out quick. Like they're like Hasbro, like you see it and then like 6 months later, like you have it. Like it's you know, it's being dropped off at your front door from the mailman or whatever. Like they pump stuff out fast. Like everyone knows Mafex takes their time, probably a little bit too much time to be perfectly frank, but you know, that's neither here nor there. But I did hear that this one was very rushed. There's like reuse of things that people really didn't like about the first, I think there was 2. I know there was the episode 1 season 1 Mando, and then there was the Beskar one, and there might have been 2 more Beskars including this one. I don't remember. I don't have them all. I don't even have the first episode 1. But yeah, I know like I definitely have a lot of complaints with this one. Another thing that I noticed though, and I remember people pointing out when there was like the second Mafex release of him, was like the way that the armor is painted. Like the Figuarts definitely has much more of a metallic sheen to it, whereas this one, it's definitely flatter. It definitely, I think that's probably why it's making me think of Hasbro so much, because it definitely makes it look a little cheaper. Like there's definitely not as much of a sheen and a shine to it. So I definitely give points to Figuarts for that, because it does look a lot nicer. It looks a lot more premium than this one does. Like I keep saying, this one looks like a premium version of like a Hasbro figure, but not really in a bad way, because Hasbro's really stepped their game up. So it's not me bitching or anything, I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, in terms of details and whatnot, again, I know this one was rushed, so this one, like, they've definitely had a lot more time to look at you know, set photos and costume photos and production stills and all this. So this is definitely a lot more screen accurate. Just like I said, I haven't watched the show in a bit, but just from memory and seeing recent pictures of him and, you know, posters of the store or whatever, like this looks a lot closer to what my mind's eye comes up with when I think of the Mandalorian, you know, versus this one. It's kind of like a mishmash of kind of off colors and things that are almost there. They're not quite right. And then like just in general, because I was fiddling with this guy for a little bit, I still am in the camp of the Figuarts one just being incredibly over-engineered, like to the point of like frustration. Whereas this one's, it's pretty simple. If you've handled a Mafex figure before, like, you know what you're getting into. It's like no fuss, no muss type stuff. Like, it's very no frills. It does the job as you would need it to. Maybe, you know, slightly less than you would hope, but we'll get into that in a bit. But this one, I mean, you know, like this pauldron's already broken on mine. Like that broke almost instantly, but you know, it's got like tiny little joints and stuff in there, like very fiddly. I had to glue this knee pad on because it was just constantly falling off. Like everything's on hinges, and I was never the biggest fan of, just like I said, the overall engineering of the Figuarts figure. But I guess what we could do is just a quick quote unquote rundown of like articulation comparisons. I'm not going to go like super in depth. We'll just, you know, we'll look at it. Obviously we can't really say much about the head because that's just kind of on there right now, but in terms of, yeah, there it goes. You know, I'm just going to leave that off for now. In terms of like arm articulation, it goes to about there. I know people were complaining that this one didn't have the most range, but it's pretty similar. And we have, do we have elbow swivel? Very, very tight, like shoulder swivel up here, which I'm kind of not even gonna mess with, honestly, because I'm always afraid when I'm messing around with that one that I'm gonna break something. I know he has some down here, which is right above the elbow, which is nice. It gets the job done. We'll see how it works when we're like, you know, trying to put accessories in his hands and stuff, how that works later. But Again, I like how they do the little hinges on theirs. It's much less over-engineered than Figuarts. Very simple. Not really worried about it breaking, more of just kind of popping off when messing with it. But I feel much better about this one popping off than the Figuarts, because the Figuarts popped off and immediately broke. So, but as far as like head articulation, oh dang, he gets a lot. So very good range in the old head and neck there. Torso though, oops, yep, that's there's one of your import problems there. Not a lot. Like everything's kind of like sliding around with the torso, like all the little Under Armour bits. Everything really gets in the way, so yeah, you don't get a lot of front to back there. Very, very tight, but it also feels sturdy. Like it's tight, but it feels sturdy to mess with. Like this one, it's very loose and just. But he does definitely beat out the Mafex in terms of torso. Standard drop leg goes out to there, I believe. Yeah, obviously. So Mafex actually beats the Figuarts in terms of kicking out. In terms of going to the side. Looks like, oh, yep, speaking of over-engineered, it just, ugh. It looks like about even, give or take. We'll go over to knees. Yeah, this is why I always hated fiddling with this. Like, I would get it in a pose, and then I would put it on the shelf and just not touch it, because pieces are constantly falling off of this thing, this little hinge right here. Just the word I keep using, over-engineered. My God, it's annoying. But in terms of knees, it is double jointed on the Figuarts, but we only get to about there, so let's see what we're working with here. So it looks like Figuarts beats him out by a little bit in terms of knee, because this is just a single jointed knee. Very similar to what Hasbro's been doing with their newer stuff. And in terms of ankle, articulation, pivots, how far the foot goes down, actually pretty close. Toe articulation, looks like Figuarts beats it by a smidge. Not really concerned with toe articulation so much, but yeah, I mean, that's, you know, your basic rundown of articulation. Oh, and one thing I didn't even, and I don't know why I didn't even notice this when I'm playing with this figure, the cape on this one is actually wired, and that was one of my biggest gripes. Oh, and another piece fell. Oh, I hate this thing. I really don't like this figure. That was another thing I always hated about the Figuarts one. As if you look, you can see that I've singed it, and it's still coming apart. This nasty, ratty little piece of cloth that's constantly shedding pieces. It looks like crap. Like, I never bothered to swap it out, because I had already owned a Figuarts Mando, and I put the custom cape on, and then that was like, I had sold off most of my collection, so he was one of the ones to go, and I was like, whatever, because I already knew I was getting this one eventually, so I was like, I'll just let that sit as it is. But this is much nicer. No real surprise there. Putting in even just a fraction of effort into your the cape on your figure goes a long way. This is just terrible. Just absolutely terrible. It looks terrible. It feels terrible. It's cheap material that they couldn't even be bothered to make sure that like, you see all the stuff coming off of that, all the little ends of the strings, it just falls apart, like literally just sitting there. Even if you don't mess with it, I swear, it's like when you have a bundle of cables in a drawer and then you walk away and come back and they're all tangled around each other. Like, it just falls apart on its own. It's awful. And then, yeah, like I said, when you're messing around with it, it's like pieces just fall off. That was another thing I like about this, is like the gun holster is an actual holster, and it's not some over-designed crap where you have to, it's a whole separate holster you got to replace it with. And there's like a little strap that goes right here that I lost at some point. Apparently, I didn't even know until today. That's just, it must have popped out, and it's long gone. I've never seen that again. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know why I said so yeah twice, but that's fine. Obviously, I think in terms of like aesthetics, just the armor sheen I like better on Figuarts, but overall, besides the slightly limited torso articulation, this one is just heads and tails above this so far. But let's get into like actual accessories. We'll look at like the Baby Yoda and all that stuff, and we'll keep this moving along. All right, so moving into accessories, we'll start with the Grogu / Baby Yoda. And this was another reason why when I had seen everything that this one was coming with, I really wanted to do a full comparison review video because of just how similar like the accessories that these two both come with, which is to be expected because of, you know, the nature of the character in the show and whatnot. But it's really interesting, like just to, like I said, just to look at everything side by side, like just see just how similar these two releases are, but also just how different at the same time. So obviously in keeping with how we had it set up before, Figuarts on the right, Mafex on the left. So we'll start with the little Baby Yoders. And yeah, I mean, they're fine. Obviously this one looks a little bit better because for whatever reason, Figuarts decided they just didn't want to paint any pupils in their Baby Yoda's face, so he looks like I mean, he is a creature, but he looks like a creepy little goblin. Whereas this one kind of looks like a cute little Yoda, Baby Yoda thing. He's got actual pupils and detail and like that painted on white dot for light reflection. Everything looks much better than the Figuarts. And again, this is, you know, with the benefit of time and all that. Figuarts have like you know, like I said, rushed theirs out. Mafex took a couple of years, but yeah, so very similar but also very different. I do like, I mean, pretty much everything about this one I like more than this one. It just looks nicer, it looks more quality than this again, it just looks rushed and creepy. Both have little feet, both of their little arms articulate. The Figuarts one is definitely more down to the sides. These ones are kind of sticking out more, like he likes to hang around. You know, he's always like walking, doing this goofy little baby walk. His arms are always kind of splayed to the sides there. So yeah, definitely like that one a lot more. And then this is going to be a sort of a reoccurring theme in this video. Is here's the second accessories that are basically the same thing, but couldn't really be more different. Because with the Figuarts, again, talking about over-engineered and rushed, if you want to get the Grogu in the sack, you have to take the head off of the only one that they give you and put it like that. And it never really looked all that good to me. I've never had him displayed with the satchel on. On my old one, I had a custom soft goods satchel that I had the little Baby Yoda figure in, so it looked a little bit better. But that is what that looks like versus the Mafex. And that's the other thing. It's what you see is what you get when you're hanging this on the figure versus the Mafex, which is a hard plastic sack, and you do have the little Grogu collar. It's a completely different face sculpt. He's looking a little happy little guy there. But this is actually, it's not like fabric, but it's like a stiffer kind of feeling material, almost like a burlap type deal. But it's soft goods, so you can actually kind of change up the position, you know, if you're taking photos or whatever, of the way that it hangs on the figure. And then again, like, you get the benefit of, here's a little figure for posing purposes, and then here's a whole separate one that you don't even have to worry about, that's already in the bag and ready to go, versus, you know, having to pop the head off of your Baby Yoda and put him in the bag separately. But anyways, let's move on to head sculpt. All right, so the unmasked head, we'll keep with how we have it, obviously. Figuarts on the right, Mafex on the left. This is one of the other things that kind of made me sit up in my seat and go, ooh, that looks real good, was the unmasked Din Djarin / Pedro Pascal head sculpt, and then the one on the Figuarts. Now, if you buy this figure, it will come with a neck peg. I borrowed it for my Jango Fett, my Figuarts Jango Fett. I have a custom head sculpt on him, and he needed a neck piece, and that one worked perfectly. And considering I was never gonna have him displayed with this kind of crappy face sculpt anyways, it didn't really bother me. So he doesn't have the little neck peg like this one comes with, but it does, like I said, to be fair, come with one in the box. But yeah, you can see, like, this one's been touched up a little bit. There was only so much that I could do, but some of the details are really faint. So I touched up a few spots. I kind of adjusted a couple little things, and it's still not great, but it was serviceable for the time. But this, yeah, this looks way better, minus a few weird paint app errors. Like you can see, like there's some skin tone on the actual hair bits, which is a little disappointing when you pay premium price for something and expect it to be perfectly painted. But also keeping in mind that it is more of a mass-produced thing. You're not going to get that same TLC you get from like a third-party release type deal. So I mean, still, just as it is out of the box, it definitely blows this one away. Not really surprised there, but and that's another thing. Mafex really has stepped up their game when it comes to head sculpts, especially like actor likenesses and stuff. They've come a long way. Get that cat hair out of here, please. But yeah, so on mass head sculpts, again, I'm going to say that Mafex takes this one. The Figuarts, again, like I keep saying, was definitely rushed. So we're gonna leave that like that. So we'll move on. All right, so this is our first deviation. The Figuarts, it is what you see is what you get when it comes to Mando. You get one on-mass head and one helmet. Whereas with the Mafex, you get a whole separate helmet just for this little flashlight piece that sticks to the side. Very situational. Probably wouldn't have them on the shelf like that, but you know, obviously if you're a toy photographer, that'll definitely open up your options a little bit. Honestly shocked that they didn't just have this be a piece that you popped out of the normal helmet and just be a tiny little minuscule piece like all of these companies love to throw in there that you always immediately lose. But yeah, good on them for just throwing in a whole separate option. That's pretty cool. All right, then since these are two of the more larger size accessories, we'll move over to the Jetpacks. And interestingly, the Figuarts is, oops, actually quite a bit bigger than the Figuarts one. Not quite a bit, but a decent amount. It's definitely wider. It looks like they're about the same size top to bottom though. So this one's kind of a chunky wide boy, and this one's, I keep dropping it, a lot more streamlined. One of the more interesting things about this is, and also kind of weird that, you know, like Figuarts didn't do this, because Figuarts loves over-engineering their stuff, is this is just a plug that plugs into a port on the back of the Mando, whereas this one is actually a whole separate backplate piece, which I'm not really sure how I feel about. I haven't tried taking this off yet, so we're gonna do this live on camera. I'm assuming you're probably gonna wanna, oops. Ooh, okay. Well, I didn't like that noise. That looks like it's gonna be a pain to put back in. So this whole thing came out with the socket there, so we'll see how that works getting that back in. But yeah, so it's a whole separate back piece, so you actually don't break the mold if you don't have them wearing the jetpack. But then how does this work then? With the okay, so then that pops on. So can we? Oh my god. Okay, alright, I was really confused there for a sec. So that is definitely not flush though, so that doesn't look the best, but it also won't look that bad because you'll have a cape draped over it. That's a little fiddly. You gotta take apart like multiple pieces to get the jetpack on. So you have to, the jetpack goes on after you take off. I mean, the quickest way I found to do it was take the arm off, so you can bend this down, take the arm off, pop off the old back plate. We'll just pop this back on. I need the jetpack on right this second. Pop on the old piece there. And let's see how easy this is to get back in, because I'm a little nervous about that, not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm gonna do some behind the camera stuff with this one. Alright, so that wasn't too bad getting that back in there once I kind of figured out what I was doing. Definitely a lot more of a pain than I feel like I should have had to deal with, but that's okay. If that happens to you, what you're going to want to do is pop the arm itself very gently take this shoulder piece off first. Like it pops off just this way. Like you can just do a light little pull. There's 2 little nubs. Just very gently pull that off, and then obviously very gently put it back on. But pull the arm peg out of this bit here, and then you can kind of fiddle it in. There's a tiny little peg here where the butterfly joint hooks onto the whole part that popped out for me. And you can kind of weasel it in there with a little bit of finagling, and then like just kind of look where you're pushing it. You can push it in, and then you hear a nice little click, and then it's, you know, like it never happened. But yeah, so that was a slight bit of panic, so I was having some trouble putting it back in. I was like, please tell me my brand new figure is like just completely borked and I'm not gonna be able to do anything with it. I have to return it or something, but it is fine. So we will put him back. Put the Jetpacks with their respective owners and move on to the next bit. All right, so moving on to blasters. This is another one that deviates pretty hardcore. So here is the Figuarts. Very plain, very basic, and also kind of small. And then here is the Mafex. And this is a beefy little pistol. Like if I can get these two side by side, you can just see like down to like the stock on these things, the grip. Like the Mafex is thick. Like it is a thick freaking grip on that. But then also down to just finer details. I mean, look, there's like gold trim, silver on the barrel. Because I'm pretty sure that's one of the things that kept me from buying one of the other Mafex ones, is like the pistol was like pink. It looked really bad. So this is definitely like a redemption type move from them. But yeah, it's heads and tails better than the Figuarts by far. So no real comparison there. Definitely giving that one to Mafex for sure. All right, so moving on to another accessory that also confirms my theory of the Figuarts one being incredibly rushed. We're gonna look at the Beskar Spears. So same as always, Figuarts right, Mafex left. Can you tell me tell me what's wrong with this one over here? And even at the time, it was kind of a big deal. The Figuarts one is incredibly short, and I still don't know how they messed that up that bad. Because I mean, when like if you put it next to the figure, like look at this. It doesn't even reach the top of his head, versus this one is actually taller and in scale how it should be. I mean, as far as details go, they're virtually identical, just different colors. Where you got the little grooves, a little bit on the bottom. The tips look very nice. They look good. But yeah, even at the time, like I remember opening, that was one of the things I was excited for. I was like, oh, I get the Beskar Spear and everything. It looks so badass. Yeah, minuscule. And then to top it off, mine immediately broke when I tried to put it in his little the little clip that it comes with and put on the belt for the spear. Oh, which is actually, I forgot to point out, on the jetpack for the Mafex, there actually is a little grip for the spear, which is kind of a pain. It's softer plastic, so I'm not really worried about breaking anything, but there we go. So yeah, you can actually clip that to the side of the jetpack for when you have it stashed on his back, versus this one had like an incredibly over-engineered bit where it was, and his head fell off. It's like a little extra piece that you clip onto the belt back here that never quite stays on right, and then you gotta kind of clip it. And it was always at like a weird angle when you had the jetpack on, and it was a whole thing. So yeah, so once again, no big surprise, Mafex takes another point in terms of accessories with the Beskar Spear. So moving on. All right, so here's one where I actually honestly do think that Figuarts does have the better product in terms of aesthetics, is the Whistling Birds accessory. And as you can see, the Figuarts one is actually incredibly detailed, like the wrist gauntlet piece that you pop out to slide this on, down to the way that these are set into like that clear plastic bit, the little, you can see the actual little pellets or whatever those things are, versus the Mafex one where the wrist piece, it looks honestly kind of sloppy. Like, this really does look like something you would get from Hasbro. I mean, the little whistling bird bits, even, like, again, like, just don't look super great. They don't look very sharp or dangerous. Let me pick up the Figuarts one for comparison. Like, those look nasty. Like, you wouldn't want to get hit by those. And these just... Yeah, this doesn't even look like it belongs in this set. Like, that's honestly kind of disappointing. If anything, it looks like someone's kind of dumping out a container of jizz. Like, that's very unpleasant looking versus this one where I really like the way that the translucent plastic works on this. It looks really nice. But let me see about popping this on real quick, just out of curiosity how much of a pain that is. Oop. And oh, that popped his little elbow out. Yeah, I mean, it's easy enough. And yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really look all that great. I mean, I never had my Figuarts one display with this on there anyways, so not really too worried about it. It's not super loose, so that's good. But yeah, that's one thing I didn't really look at until just now was the detail on the gauntlet. And if we bring over the Figuarts, and they're very close, but I would say the Figuarts is definitely a bit sharper. This freaking head fell off again. But you know, that's whatever. It's honestly like, you know, if you're just showing someone around your shelf, they're not really going to be looking that close at the Mandalorian's gauntlets and be like, oh, why does that look like that? Like, the only person that's really going to notice that is you. So if that's like a personal problem, then I mean, I don't know what to tell you about that. But yeah, so Figuarts, I would definitely give them the edge on the Whistling Birds accessories. This one, it just looks kind of bland and cheap and just lifeless and just not very good. This one definitely looks a lot more dynamic and nice. So yeah, Figuarts for the win on that. All right, so here's another deviation, and this one is just going to be exclusively for the Mafex. He comes with a cool little flamethrower add-on for the other gauntlet. And so we will see how that looks. Without breaking anything, that comes out nice and easy. And that pops on. And yeah, I mean, I like having the option. It's kind of puny looking, but I mean, it's still better than no flame effect, so I'll take it. I'm not going to bitch about getting something for, well, not for free, but you know, versus what the Figuarts one cost me versus this one. Getting some extra accessories is never a bad thing. So replace that nice and easy. Didn't really feel like I was potentially breaking anything. Oh, and the reason I didn't pop the Whistling Birds one onto my Figuarts is I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I did glue the gauntlet piece on because it kept falling off, so I'm just not even worried about futzing with that right this second. Moving on to, all right, here we can have a Figuarts deviation. Here's that separate holster bit I was talking about, where you unplug the old holster and pop the new one on. All right, so next comparison bits, we're gonna go back to the Jetpacks here. Pull these out. And we're gonna look at the flame effects that came for said Jetpacks. So here's the Figuarts that are actually attached to nozzles, and these are the Mafex, which just plug directly into the Jetpack. So again, it's another one of those things where I'm not really sure why Figuarts did it the way that they did it, because it just keeps going back to that word that I keep using, over-engineered, because that works just fine, and it actually looks pretty nice versus these ones where it's pieces that you have to pull out and be afraid to potentially lose. Pop those in. The one thing I'll give the Figuarts, way that they set it up, like when I was pushing these in, I almost felt like I needed to be a little bit more careful because I heard plastic creaking. I don't want to break one of these little exhaust ports off, so I guess props to Figuarts on the over-engineering for this one specifically, because it does kind of keep it from potential breakage. So I guess, as I was saying, I don't know why they did it. I can kind of see why they did it that way. So, but there you go. So there are the Jetpack flame effects. Okay, so moving on to the next bit here. This is where I will repeat again. Over-engineered. I hate. Oh my god, I cannot understate how much I freaking hate, and I know that rhymed, the way that Figuarts did the Amban Rifle. I loathe this thing. Like, there's a reason why my Mandalorian, my Figuarts Mandalorian, has never been displayed with this rifle, like, slung over his shoulder. Ooh, if you don't know. So let me actually get my little tweezers, and I'll show you one of the main reasons why I hate this. This piece, almost specifically right here. And if you don't know this figure, you don't know anything about it, be like, oh, what's that? That goes here. So when you get the figure packed in the box, and his head fell off, it comes with this little strap, right? And then this plugs into this hole. And again, speaking of minuscule pieces, there's this bit on the rifle that pops out, this tiny little plug. And then this is supposed to, in theory, plug into the rifle here. And then you plug this little bit into the front here, and it's, in theory, again, supposed to hold the rifle onto his back. And that also ties into this other bit, this little loop, this little belt loop that you shove in the back here. Oops. And I think I physically, I don't remember if this hole was in here or if I physically cut that hole in there. But yeah, so this is supposed to loop through here, while attached through this plug, which the plug, when you plug it into the torso, does stay, but this little bit, this little bastard right here, never stays together. And you're looking at this and you're wondering, like, oh, so how do you plug this rifle in? Well, let me tell you. Not only is there minuscule parts, and this thing is incredibly kind of cheap feeling and fragile, it comes apart, and then you're supposed to, like, slide the scope through here, all while the figure's standing, like, put this all together, like, with this tiny little minuscule part, and, like, as soon as you get it through the loop, no matter where you get it through, as soon as you, like, try to make this rifle sit, I just keep dropping everything, as soon as you get trying to make this rifle sit in, like, a nice looking position, either this is going to pop out of the back of the rifle here, it's going to pop out, and that's gonna fall, or like this will pop apart, or it's terrible, absolutely terrible. I hate it. I'm gonna throw in like a clip of the Grinch, Jim Carrey Grinch, just hate. Like, oh my god, I cannot state enough times like how much I loathe the thought of like messing with the Amban rifle for the Figuarts Mandalorian. Just the minuscule pieces, the over-engineered BS. So this is why I was actually really interested to find out that the Mafex one, they just give you two rifles, one for shooting and one for looting. I don't know, one for just hanging out. And it does come with a little plug, and we'll check that out because I haven't actually tried this yet. So I do believe. I was literally just looking at the instructions. What's this? Oh, okay, so there's our first minuscule piece. So that's whatever. That pops in, I believe, a specific way. Okay, so after much trial and tribulation and futzing around, I did get it in there. It's a softer plastic piece. It's not hard, so I will give Hasbro. I will give Figuarts a little bit of props. Like, their bit is at least kind of a harder piece of material. But anyways, once that is in there, it is in there, so it doesn't really feel like it's going to come out. But I guess we'll see. You know what happens when you assume. So let's try and get this through the cape hole. Alright, so that's our first real fiddly bit of the evening there. But it looks like all you gotta do Is there a hole in his? No, there isn't. So this is just specifically a hole into the belt. You tuck that little piece in. And then, oh, I guess I did this backwards. So what you want to do, what it showed in the instructions, is you tuck this in, right? Does this come off? Am I stupid? Am I stupid? So yeah, it turns out you're supposed to read instructions thoroughly. So this does, you're supposed to just kind of shove the rifle, oops. Oh, it's all going to hell. So I guess I should have done this according to the instructions, but you are supposed to put the loop on the rifle here first. And then you kind of put it through the hole here, I guess. I mean, it shows that you could do it while everything's attached to the figure. But, you know, just for time's sake, I'm just going to put it like this. I don't care about the cape all that much. So let me try and find... Oh, just right up in the camera there. I'm really focusing. I'm focusing so hard. Okay, so something like that. And, you know, if you can get that to work with it going through the cape, good on you. But as of right this second, I'm not really super concerned with it. I just want to move along at this point. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even notice that. So on the other one, he actually has the strap tied up onto the side there. That's pretty cool. That's a little detail I never really noticed in the movie. But yeah, so the whole point of this video was comparing accessories and pieces and stuff. And I just have the Figuarts Amban Rifle just sitting here in a million billion pieces. But that's okay because I already tell that the Mafex one is leagues and leagues better. For the most part. I do like the color on the tip here, like it makes it look used. Maybe a bit too yellow and bluey, but that's okay. But I do like how the Mafex one has a bit more like wooden stock going on. I do like the silver. There are gold accents that are kind of hard to see against the silver there, but they are there. They are there, like on the scope. So it is pretty much identical to the Figuarts, just with a little bit of extra paint here and there. Like there's the silver bit on the grip on the front there, and just, you know, obviously the paint on the front of the barrel, whatever, these electro prods or something. And speaking of, the Mafex one also comes with this little bit here, which I was talking to my girl about, and I was like, I don't remember him zapping anybody, but it's also been a while since I've watched Mandalorian, so for all I know, that was a thing. I know there was a thing in like the Boba Fett, like the holiday special, pretty sure he had a zappy stick like this, but the Mafex one does come with some electricity to stick on the end there, so just another added plus going into the Mafex side there. His head keeps falling off. I like that on there. Okay, moving on. Alright, so another deviation from the FedEx. Why did I almost say FedEx? Figuarts. The Mafex does come with his nice little Vibro blade dagger thing. And does this actually have a spot where you can put it? I'm gonna have to look real quick. Alright, well, I was looking around. I don't see anywhere to put this, so I'm just gonna assume for right now that there isn't like a secret little slot or something. Oh, no, there it is. I think, because he pulls it out of his boot, right? I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be his little knife, isn't it? It doesn't come out. Okay, so I don't think there's anywhere to like stash this on the figure itself. So I think this is just gonna be like a separate accessory type thing, which is fine. So as far as everything goes, yeah, that is it for accessories to compare. So everything from here on out, besides hands, which we can get to in a sec, I'll just go through the last couple of accessories here, and then we'll go. there's nothing else to compare with Figuarts. So he does come with a little grappling hook catcher claw thing, which I've never really been big into these. Like, I've never really cared enough to have them displayed with these on the shelf. And I'm not even 100% sure where it goes. Obviously, it shoots out of his little gauntlet. But where? Let me consult the manuscript. The manuscript doesn't say. Let me consult the back of the box. The back of the box doesn't say. Oh my god. Okay, I have been messing with this and just painstakingly going over every like millimeter of this figure, trying to figure out where this stupid grappling hook goes. And it is in the right hand. I don't even know if you can see this. There's this tiny little hole that is almost impossible to see, but that slots in right there. So that's how that works. Oh my god. I literally had to go online and look up promotional pictures of this figure. Oh, that came up. Just to kind of get an idea of like where this was supposed to go, because I could not for the life of me find it. Holy crap. Okay, so mystery solved. I was honestly about to give up, but there you go. There's a tiny little pinhead-sized freaking hole in the upper part of the right gauntlet there where that grappling hook goes in. Holy crap. That was an adventure. Alright, and then the next, well, the last real accessory, yeah, besides the hands, is the Darksaber. And this is really freaking badass. I really, really like this. I love the detail that's gone into this. I mean, you know, it's just a black and white blade with a black and silver hilt, but it still just looks really good. And I do have a Hasbro one. I've got like 6 of these because I bought a bunch of the Moff Gideons from Ollie's. So I've got quite a few Darksabers. But yeah, you can see Mafex one is longer. It looks better. The hilt is honestly about the same size. It's a little thicker. And it's just ever so slightly bigger. But I mean, honestly, pretty close. But then yeah, like the way like the blade hangs down over the front there, like a cleaver type thing, that's really cool. And then they do give you the deactivated hilt, which looks nice. It's, I mean, you know, it's the same hilt as this one, just with the blade turned off. And I don't know if there is a place to stash this. That I'm not 100% sure. But let me futz around with the figure for a couple more minutes and I'll let you know. Alright, so as far as I can tell, it's the same with like the little dagger. There's no real official place to put it. I don't remember where he stashes it in the show, but I did notice that if you have the sniper rifle thing, it actually does work just fine. It'll sit right there. So if you don't want him with the rifle, but you want him carrying the Darksaber, because I feel like he had it like here in the show, like it was hanging here. Again, it's been a while since I watched it, so I can't really remember. But yeah, like in a pinch, like that works just fine. I mean, it honestly looks like it was even made for it, but yeah, pretty cool. So just a nice little option for those looking for some Darksaber storage. So then the last real thing to compare, and it's really not all that interesting, so I'm not going to waste a bunch of time on it, are the hands. And again, this is where we get a pretty big deviation. Because Figuarts, you get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 hands. And then with the Mafex, you have the 2 that it comes with, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. You get 22 hands with the Mafex one. Like pretty much any kind of finger position you want the Mandalorian to use, you can do it. It looks like he's even got 2 different sets of a spear gripping hands or something. Is this for the Darksaber maybe? I don't know. I'll have to fiddle around with that at some point. But yeah, so you get quite a few sets of hands. So that's another really cool thing about this Mandalorian figure, is because unless you're like a Figuarts purist, this is kind of like the Mafex one. It's kind of like a one-stop like shop if you want like an up-to-date Mandalorian with pretty much every accessory he's used throughout the entire show, even down to having an entire separate helmet sculpt just for the little flashlight that he uses in like 2 episodes, like the the unmasked sculpt here. Which let me pop that on while I'm talking. Like the unmasked sculpt looks really good. The unhelmeted sculpt, like everything about it is really well done, really well put together. It looks nice. And then there you go, unhelmeted Mando, and that looks fantastic too. Like that's a whole other option that you can use. All right, so moving on to comparisons and stuff. Normally I start with the Mezco Hellboy and the Mezco Constantine. I think this time I'll start with Mezco Hellboy, and then this really cool third-party Constantine that I got a little while ago, based on the Keanu Reeves version. And it looks like I'm gonna have to move this little gremlin, even though I like him a lot. He's blocking taking the focus away. Let's see if I can. There we go. But yeah, he's like a third party. I think I got it from like 5K Toys for like, it's like 60, 70 bucks. It comes with a lot of cool stuff. I won't get into that here, but definitely a really cool figure. The only problem I have with him is he's a little tall, but hey, there we go. All right, and then just because these two are sitting next to those other guys on the shelf, here's with the Limb Toys Resident Evil 2 Leon and the Patriot Studios Resident Evil 4 Leon, just because. I just kind of like showing those off anyways, but Patriot Studios Leon, fantastic figure, by the way. Can't recommend that one enough. And then I guess just because, keep moving down that shelf, here's with the Limb Toys Joel and Ellie, just for the hell of it. Alright, and then since I just got these guys in yesterday, and they are also Mafex, here's with the Mafex C-3PO and R2-D2. The 3PO, I did do a little bit of Dremel work to shrink that torso area a tiny bit, so that's why he might look a little off to people that are familiar with this figure. But anyways, and then here he is with the Figuarts Mando Season 2 Luke and the Hasbro Mando Season 2 Luke. The Figuarts one, obviously I bought myself. The Hasbro one was given to me as a gift. I wasn't really quite sure what to do with it, so he's just sitting on my shelf in another spot. This is still my definitive like Jedi Luke for the moment. Hopefully the Mafex one coming out soon will maybe take that top spot, but I guess we'll see. Alright, so next here he is with my custom Mara Jade figure and a Credit Collection Grief Karga. R.I.P. Carl Weathers. Alright, and then here he is with Cara Dune and Cobb Vanth. I was almost blanking on his name for a sec there. Looks good. Alright, and then here he is with Credit Collection Moff Gideon, and for whatever reason I am blanking on his name, so we'll just say Bill Burr. There he is with those guys. Again, looking pretty good. I honestly kind of prefer the Credit Collection Gideon, I'm not gonna lie. I do dig the black, but I like the way that the blue kind of stands out on the shelf. Alright, and then here he is with a couple of, look at these guys, shoot, I can't remember their name. I want to say Death Trooper, but, Dark Trooper. They're Dark Troopers? God, I'm blanking on names right now, but there you go. I got like 6 of these guys, so. Alright, and then for a couple more imports, here's with the new Figuarts Kenobi Darth Vader and the older Mafex Episode 3 Vader. Looks pretty good. That Figuarts Kenobi Vader, definitely by far, like, probably the best Vader on the market right now. Alright, and here he is with a Bandai model kit Stormtrooper and a regular Hasbro. I believe this is the George Lucas one. Again, works really well. Alright, and here he is with the 2-pack Cobb Vanth. He came with Cobb Vanth, Cad Bane, and then my Figuarts Django Fett with the custom head sculpt that I ordered. And then, yeah, we'll be getting into Mandalorian figures in a sec, don't worry. Alright, then here he is with my little kit bashed George Lucas. And the new pre-Vizsla figure, which I'm really honestly not happy with, but that is what it is. Moving on. Alright, well here she is with my kit bashed. Here she is. Here he is with my kit bashed Dr. Aphra. And the Padawan Ahsoka with a little custom robe that I found on, I think, AliExpress a long time ago. Alright, and here he is with my custom head sculpt Bo-Katan and Costco Reeves. Some Mando, armor Mando figures to start going up here. And yeah, you know, I got that head from Syndicate Customs and like it's good, but I'm really excited for the Mafex Bo-Katan. I've had her paid off forever. There's another Darksaber, one of like 4 or 5 that I got laying around now. Alright, and here he is with Black Chrysanthemum and the Throne Room Figuarts Boba Fett, who is pretty short compared to him, so I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that. I know that these were pretty close in scale, so I mean, he's definitely taller than a lot of your Figuarts stuff, so that may be an issue for some people, but it's not really a big deal for me. It's just slightly distracting, but that's okay. Alright, more Mandos, 2 of my favorite figures. Got Pez Vizsla and the Armor. And yeah, I gotta say, like, those look really good together. God damn, those look cool. That looks really good. I love these 2 guys. Alright, and then just for fun, here's with my custom kit bash Fordo and a Bandai model kit clone. And yeah, those fit together pretty good. Those look alright. I love that Fordo though, he's really cool. I got a bunch of these guys. Alright, and then in case you want him hanging out with your MCU stuff, here's with the Mafex Endgame Iron Man and the Figuarts Black Widow. Yeah, I mean, you know, whatever. It's all Disney now, so this could happen. You never know. Alright, then just for fun, here he is with the Felix Toys Joker from Dark Knight. And the SH Figuarts Suicide Squad Harley Quinn. I don't know, just because. Alright, then just to wrap this up, since this is going on long enough, here's with Captain Jack Smeagol and Mancake. My traditional show closers there. And, I mean, yeah, if you have a Captain Jack Smeagol laying around, you can hang out with him just fine. Alright, so, I actually just realized I switched up the sides. Mafex on the right, Figuarts on the left now. So at the end of the day, all things considered, after we've gone through everything, all the accessories, articulation, all that fun stuff, put his little pistol in the holster there and just knocked everything over. But what do I think? Obviously, I think if you've watched this whole video, I would go out on a limb and say that Mafex is the clear winner here. Like, there's a couple of things that I do like on the Figuarts a little bit better than the Mafex. Like I said, in terms of like the aesthetic, I do like the metallic sheen that they have on the armor versus the Mafex, which is a little more dull. It does make it look a little bit more cheap. Like I said, almost like a really premium Hasbro figure. Like if Hasbro did like a Black Series Plus or something like that, I would imagine it would look a little bit like that. Probably less nice overall, but you know what I mean. I mean, like if for whatever reason you're a Mandalorian fan and you don't have one yet, or you're still stuck with a Hasbro and you're like, well, which one should I get? Hands down, I would say go Mafex. Unless you're like, well, I'm gonna buy nothing but Figuarts Star Wars and that's it. I'm not buying any other import stuff. I don't know why you would limit yourself like that, but like the Figuarts, it's not bad. You know, it's like I was saying earlier, it was fine for what I needed it to be, but now that there's a much better alternative on the market, I am definitely going to retire this one, and I'm either going to trade him in at my local toy shop, or trade him with somebody in one of the groups, or just sell him, or whatever. Or maybe I'll keep him around for whatever reason. But he's definitely not going up on the shelf like after this video wraps. Like that's my new definitive Mando for the shelf, like for the time being, until somebody else comes along and knocks that one off the top spot. But I feel like that's going to be a long time, if not ever. So we'll see. And then, like I said, I haven't looked into how much the Figuarts one costs. Like I said, I would imagine the price has probably come down, like especially since the season 3 wrapped up, so all that hype's kind of died down. There's that new Hasbro figure out, so a lot of people are picking up that. And then now we have this really nice Mafex one out that a lot of people are probably going to be switching over to. So I would imagine, if for whatever reason you don't want it or you can't get your hands on the Mafex, like the Figuarts one will do fine. Just kind of know what you're getting into ahead of time. It's very fiddly. It's very over designed, like very, very complicated, to use for lack of a better word. The helmet's a little too small. You're definitely gonna have to do some adjusting, that kind of stuff. The unmasked head isn't super great out of the box. Like it's not great. The Mafex one, my only real gripe with it is that the torso articulation kind of sucks. But other than that, like aesthetics, articulation, especially accessory wise, like holy crap, he comes with more stuff than I even know what to do with. The hardest part for me is going to figure out like what pose I want him in and like what accessories I actually want him using. Like, 'cause there's so many options. But it's a fantastic figure. Like I was a little, what was the last one? Poison Ivy was good. Oh, it was the Batman. I was a little underwhelmed and disappointed with the Batman. Like I don't even have him anymore. I traded him for something else. But like Mafex has been getting really good. It also seems like for every like 5 really good figures, there's like one where it's like like the Batman, that one wasn't very good. But this one's one of the good ones. I really, really like it. If you're a fan of the Mandalorian, you'll like it. If you're just Star Wars fan looking for a Mandalorian armored figure, whatever, like it's great. It fits in with everything. It's not too short, it's not too tall. It's kind of like just right to fit in with your Black Series and other figures. Maybe a little taller than he should be over like Boba Fett, but that's fine. It's whatever. But yeah, fantastic figure. I really honestly can't recommend this one enough, and it's really nice that we're kind of past the point where if this figure would have came out 3 years ago, like if you weren't like in the millisecond it went up online, pre-ordered that, like had it on pre-order, you probably wouldn't be able to get one for less than $200 right now. So thankfully, all the normal sites still have them up for stock. I'm pretty sure he's still in stock up at Hobby Link. I'm sure he'll pop up on Amazon at some point. Like, just keep your eye open. He's easily available. Don't panic. He's very, very affordable and easy to find, so don't have to worry about it. And then, if you got the new Hasbro and you're happy with that, like, I mean, really the only real plus is a little bit more articulation and some like more accessories. But if you're happy with the Hasbro, I mean, honestly, that one's just fine too. Like, I would honestly prefer the Hasbro over the Figuarts if I had to choose. So I guess take that for what you will. But anyways, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I haven't done like a really in-depth video like this in a long time. It's gonna be a nightmare to edit, but that's okay. And then I do have another really long video planned. It's gonna be like a figure retrospective. Basically, I managed to find all 3 of the older, like they're a few years old now, the Patriot Studios Joaquin Phoenix Joker figures, and I have all 3 of those coming in. So I'm going to do a nice big video on those when those come in, hopefully next week. So there is stuff on the horizon. I do have stuff on pre-order that's coming in, so there are going to be videos from time to time. Probably looking at maybe 1 or 2 a month. So just bear with me. Like anyone who's been with us since the beginning, like I appreciate you, and we'll see you later. I'll catch you in the next video. All right.